So, dear ones, I would like to welcome you to and I have to check in with my cohort here. Is it our 242nd? Yes. Okay. This is our 242nd
Mhm.
online gathering for faith leaders across the country, which is now called Creating Beloved Community. This regular gathering is sponsored by ELCA's coaching ministry. I am Jill Beverlin. I use the pronouns she, her, and Aya, and I am blessed to be the director of coaching ministries for the ELCA and honored to be giving the introduction today. So, in attunement with the truth and healing movement of the ELCA and moving toward right relationship with our Indigenous siblings and neighbors, let us begin with a land acknowledgement. We are gathered together from all parts of Turtle Island, and I am speaking with you from Appleton, Wisconsin, the ancestral territory of 5 nations of Native Indigenous peoples: the Menominee tribe, the Ho-Chunk Winnebago tribe, the Potawatomi tribe, the Oneida tribe, and the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans and the Brothertown community. I honor and respect the diverse Indigenous peoples connected to this territory on which I live. We understand that all land is Indigenous land, and we invite each of you to name in the chat the Indigenous peoples or tribal nations whose lands you occupy now. With this land acknowledgement, it is also important for us to offer a labor acknowledgement. And with permission granted by Dr. Tara T.J. Stewart, we acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants, who suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking, slavery, and Jim Crow laws. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today. Another vital part of creating beloved community is fostering a sense of belonging. So we encourage you to update your name in Zoom to include your pronouns. This is just one more way we can express welcome for all of God's children. And at any point during these gatherings, you may access the captions option in the Zoom menu on your device. It might also show as an icon with the letters CC in a box. You may need to click on 3 little dots or swipe to a different screen within Zoom to access this option. So let us continue our work toward healing and justice by entering into a place of peace and listening together. Through these regular gatherings, we have developed a covenant of how we enter and interact in this space. We are committed to creating a safer and braver space where each of us are able to bring the truth of who we are and how we are doing. We ask you to honor confidentiality for everything that is shared in our space. And if you share something in the larger space that you wish for us to edit out of the recording, just let us know afterwards. And with all of this said, we affirm these conversations are meant to be an intentional step to live more fully into God's dream for us as the body of Christ, the beloved community. As Bell Hooks wrote in All About Love, rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. And the first Wednesdays of each month throughout 2025 will invite us into a time and space of healing with and through beloved community. And now I'm so happy to invite our facilitators, the Reverend Brenda Smith, the Reverend Candy Holmes, and Deacon Tammy Devine, to take facilitation from here. Thank you for being here, friends.
So today, as we begin our time, we are wrestling, as always, with a question of what it means to love. And as we gathered in our preparation, we again began talking about what does love mean for us. And so today in our time, we're going to be taking a look at peeling back the onion of the various definitions of what it means to love and what steps we are invited to take, and how love might look, and not always in the ways in which we anticipated with that warm, fuzzy love. So, with that said, let us listen to a song. that's a little more warm and fuzzy. So as we think about the open door, we are on, in this time of creating beloved community, on a threshold. And when that door is open, what does that invite us to? How do we respond in love? And sometimes that love is that warm, fuzzy love. And sometimes it's a little bit more challenging. And so today we're going to invite you to a couple questions. I think there's a little music and then a couple questions.
So, is this the light song?
Yeah.
Okay. We're doing some spirit-led stuff today.
And we are trusting, as much as that is hard.
I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within. So I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, I'm always there for you. And so I want you to know that I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I walk the path with you. Go slow, dear one, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need to worry, 'cause I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
That was beautiful. Our first question is, what has activated love in you? What has activated love in you? I'll give my example. I have a great niece. I have a nephew and a niece, and my niece was was born first, so I didn't get to see her right when she was born. Um, but I got to see her when she was about 2 months old, and I can remember being so excited to see her. And I'm going to cry. When I first saw her, there was so much love that I had in my heart for her because I didn't have any children, and I just knew that she was going to be a big part of my life. And um, she looks more like me than she looks like her mom. So people always thought that I was her mother. And so now I'm here. I moved to Maryland to be close to all of my family, but she has two little ones. Well, they're not little, 12 and 9. And even though sometimes they drive me crazy, that love has carried over to them. And she said one day, Auntie, I think one day, you see these movies and people find out that they their mother was not really their mother. And she said, you know, sometimes I would think, because we have so many things that we're alike and things that we like and don't like. And she said, some days I thought they were going to say, come down, sit down, Becky. We have to tell you that Auntie Brenda is really your mother. And that's not true. But anyway, the depth of love I have for her just touches my soul.
Hmm. What has activated love in you? When we were exploring this question together in our planning, the thought that came to me was the death of George Floyd, and how that for me was a really huge launching into my opening the door to injustice and the work of loving one another. And so through that experience of watching over and over again the lack of humanity and the lack of love that was being expressed in his death, it activated in me this ability to see, to do some work on, to understand and to grow in my understanding of what it means to love one another.
As Pastor Brenda was sharing, I could not help but think of my grandson Eisen, who is 7 years old. And lately, this has been more than often. Every single time he sees me, he says, Grandpa, or he now call me Jeepa. Jeepa, I love you. And I will say, I love you back. And he said, no, I love you even more. And it is very random. Now I don't know if I guess he's saying it with meaning, because every time he will not only say it, but he will come and give me a hug. This morning, leaving Thursday for school, he said, Grandpa, I love you. So it's kind of that just got me going. But before Eisen, as I was thinking of that question, I believe when I experience the love of Christ in my life, and I usually say to myself, I'm like the Apostle Paul. They're kind of like just an about phase and passionate about Christ. And because of my life experience and how I experience God in my life, um, I can't help but to express that love in whatever I say and whatever I do. And so my love and the way I sense my love and caring for other, that's another word when I think of love is how can I define love? Love is for me is caring for each other as Christ had cared for me in my journey.
Thank you.
Having said that, I was thinking before, well, let me back up. So a week or so ago, I celebrated the 42nd anniversary of my ordination. I grew up, thank you. I grew up in Missouri Synod. I never expected to get to be a pastor. I played it. I played it on the steps with my siblings and stuff like that, but never expected. And I preached a couple weeks ago at my home parish, and it was a wonderful text anyway. It was the unbent, the bent woman who became unbent and praises, and so much that can be used for. But when you get done getting that opportunity to share the good news, and you were just saying that, it's just like it overwhelms you at times, not just for yourself, but oh my gosh, I get to do this. I get to proclaim this good news over and over and over. And this was just like 2 weeks ago. And, I had just gotten back from Michigan, so I'd been preaching a lot, but that break then again, and then doing it and also seeing it connect, because for some reason it really connected with the folks that day. And all you can do is say, well, I said at the end of my sermon too, all you can do is say thanks be to God, and gosh, I loved that we get to do this.
Thank you.
The recording, I'll read from the chat. When I take a walk and imagine that the God that created and loves all that surrounds me, from the grasshoppers to the wildflowers to the burnt oak trees, it speaks more love than I can imagine in this world and seems to open up love inside of me. The next one, I'm reflecting on the love my dad showed me always, all of the open doors he guided me through. His loving encouragement helped me grow, especially in my ability to connect with others, to walk through the door of creating connections with others, especially those I might not know. My dad did not know a stranger in life.
We have a second
Just
question.
like
Really hear some music, but does anyone else like to share?
I was just going to say, just like peeling the onion, sometimes when we peel an onion, what happens? There are tears, right? So Brenda has the next question.
What has challenged love in you? What has challenged love in you?
For me, it's the constant inhumanity and war and division. It's hard to love one's enemies or adversaries. It's hard.
That's what I was thinking of, the love of enemy. And then just sometimes figuring out what is the lovable thing to do, and things that are not black and white and complex. I'm on the policy council for the Lutheran Office of Public Policy. So today we're going to be discussing the Prop 50. So it's just a struggle.
I'm just going to add. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To see justice and not become what you're trying to fight against.
Yeah.
Just going to sort of piggyback and just say sometimes it's, let's be honest, trying to love our brothers and sisters in Christ in the church. You know, sometimes I just want to go, you should know better than this, you know, that kind of thing. Or, you know, be not just terribly be disappointed instead of, no, that's my brother and sister. I need to keep loving. And how can I love them so that they can hear too? And I'm sorry, Candy, I think you were going to go and I stepped on you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know what's challenged love for me is redefining love. Because I was socializing, you know, as I grew up, that love was fluffy and always easy and kind and, you know, all the, you know, the romanticizing of love. And I think what has challenged me, and I accept the challenge, is that love is more than the romantic kind, the agape kind. It's like Tammy was beginning to talk about the onion. You know, love is reforming. You know, it's like pulling back the layers of the onion, and love is truth telling. You know, love is being willing to say something or be present in a way that may not feel good, but is good. And so redefining love for myself has been a challenge, because, you know, it was easier to hold on to the romanticized version of love, but to come to understand that love is much bigger and wider than that. And what does that mean for me in living that out?
I will need to go, but as Candy was speaking, one of the things I find with challenge is, because of my love for someone, I sometimes hesitate to speak the truth, fearing that I may hurt them. And so, because I care for them, I kind of smooth the truth, if you will. I usually say, like you guys know, the truth shall set you free, right? You know that? You guys know that, right? The truth shall set you free. I also feel that the truth sometimes get you into trouble. And so I find that sometimes challenging. And like Cheryl, I sometimes say, how come you people don't get it? What's the problem here? And that can be overwhelming for me because I sometimes put myself, and so I would say myself sometimes it's very challenging to express that love because I expect people to be where I am. And so I have to take my step back. Thank you for allowing my time. I write in the chat, I was going to post it. I have to go because I need to express my love by taking my daughter to her work. Blessings all.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to a scripture story where sometimes that tough love is part of the reality.
I'm guessing y'all know this story from Matthew 21. Then Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who were selling and buying in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers."
So the turning of the tables. A contemporary reading, Candy.
Once there was a brother and sister named Thomas and Mary who moved next door to one another, along with their spouses, Sally and Abe. Late one night, a knock came at Abe and Mary's door. It was Sally. Beaten badly, arm broken, eyes swollen shut. Thomas had done this to her, she said. It wasn't the first time. Beatings had been going on for years, but tonight, for the first time in years, Thomas had pushed it further, had hit and not stopped hitting, had done damage he couldn't cover. Tonight, she feared for her life. She went to the one place she could think to go. She went to her friends. She went to her brother and sister. That night at the hospital, Abe and Mary talked and discovered many things, now cast in a new light. Sally's famous clumsiness seemed less accidental now. Her tendency to drink heavily in social situations seemed compensatory, and certain of Thomas's running jokes about Sally's shortcomings revealed themselves as cruel and controlling. Thomas's habit of playing loud music at odd hours now seemed calculated to mask other sounds. Mary remembered troubling rumors she'd heard and soon discounted of Thomas's behavior with Mary and other partners when he was in college out of state. Both perceived that a new menace now tinted actions, and words that had previously seemed harmless to them. In time, the police arrived, and just after them came Thomas, who explained that Sally had just been having an episode. It happens sometimes. He never mentioned it because he didn't want to embarrass her. But last night she'd gone too far. She'd gotten drunk and angry, he claimed. She started screaming at him. Look, she's screaming now. Then out of the blue, on purpose, she threw herself down a flight of steps. Thomas was deeply disturbed by Abe and Mary's reaction to him. He was shocked, offended. They'd gotten him all wrong. She was doing this to get back at him for imagined offenses. And he was a good person. They knew him. So they knew he was a good person. How could they believe this of him? And they had to admit, Sally was a drinker, no? A bit of a lush. And by the way, how was this anybody else's business? He was very calm and very logical. The police asked Sally if she had been drinking last night, and Sally admitted she had. The police cleared their throats. They asked Abe and Mary, "Do you really want to give a statement?" And Abe decided to give a statement. After all, Thomas and his friend was his friend and brother. And he reasoned both sides have some part of every quarrel. And he knew Thomas and knew all of his amazing qualities. It was impossible to think his friend, his brother, was an evil man. But Mary gave her report to the police and stood with Sally as Sally gave hers. And when Abe left them both to bail out Thomas, she brought her sister into her own home and changed the locks. When Abe returned with Thomas, neither of them could get in anymore. When Thomas demanded to be let in to see his own wife, Mary told him, "I love you, but things aren't the same anymore now that I see what you've done." When Abe demanded to be let into his own house, Mary told him, "I love you, but things aren't the same anymore now that I see what you're willing to allow." And Thomas berated his wife, growing ever angrier for alleged lies against his character, and shouted that her behavior now merited the treatment she had falsely claimed to have received. And Abe scolded his wife for her harsh tone, her closed mindedness, her unwillingness to hear both sides. But Sally would not deny what she knew had happened, and Mary refused to open the door, no matter how hard Thomas pounded. And both Thomas and Abe were angry and offended, and they went off to complain to each other about the uncompromising attitudes of their wives. And Sally wept because she was abused and vulnerable, and she mourned because she had been beaten and disbelieved. And Mary mourned because Thomas was still her brother and Abe was still her husband. And she wept because Sally was her sister and her sister was abused.
Telling the truth in love. It reminds me of that parable of the blind man and the elephant. You probably remember that when the blind man touches the trunk, he decides it must be, I can't remember what it is. A stick?
A snake.
A snake. There you go. And when he touches the belly of the elephant, the blind man says, well, surely this must be, remember? I think it's a wall. And when he touches, the blind man goes to touch the elephant's tail, surely it must be a rope. And somehow in that story that Candy read, that imagery of what we see and what we believe and how we interpret what we see and believe. And also in the story of Jesus turning the tables in the temple, it reminds me of John Lewis's quote, "Get into trouble, good trouble, and most of all, don't get lost in a sea of despair." Good trouble is another layer of that onion as we're peeling back. That love isn't always just that soft, warm, intimate kind of love, but sometimes it calls us to get into good trouble. From Turning Over Tables by Kathy Escobar, she writes, "The only way to shift power is to disrupt it and more bravely embody something different. To refuse to keep doing it the way we've always been doing it, and to risk being considered a heretic, a rebel, a backslider, to hold true to our values. This is what culture is experiencing now, with millions of people leaving the church each year dissatisfied with the status quo." So what are we called? How are we called to disrupt the norm in love? To make good trouble.
I think sometimes by just asking the questions that don't get asked. Because, one of my favorite phrases is, well, I wonder. And then people start wondering, and I wonder if this had happened. And then to ask questions on top of it. Just my son moved from Illinois to Florida some time ago. He's not there anymore. And he, going down to Florida, so you can imagine, from the Illinois, Wisconsin, well, the edge of Wisconsin area was quite a change politically, for one, and in the churches as well. And he also learned that technique, or he'd share an observation. Well, I hear what you said about supporting this, but then I see this. So how does that go together? And he'd just lay it out there. He wouldn't criticize. So he got away with it in a very conservative congregation. I don't know if anybody.
Curiosity. I love that. That's a coaching approach, right? Yeah. Yeah. Curious.
I actually have a couple of examples. One is that our church has a social justice committee. And the task of the committee is to bring up these issues, to discuss them. We have fair trade sales once a month. And I think any congregation that has a social justice committee is bound then to start looking at social injustice. Another example was last Christmas. I often or usually go down to Santa Barbara to see my daughter for Christmas. And I wanted to see my ex. And his wife monitors where he goes, as friends do, I guess, sometimes. So she knew that he was going to Aaron's house, but she didn't know I was in town. So I invited him over, and we sat and we talked. And he's 180 degrees different from where I am politically. And I gave him cookies and his coffee. I was a good hostess. And then I said, I really don't understand the other side of the political spectrum. Can you kind of give me some insight as to your thoughts and what it's about? I mean, really, I'm not in your shoes. I don't understand it. And that was a way of beginning to open up a conversation. I didn't challenge. I didn't contradict. I just asked him to share. I think Rising Out of Hatred was a book that our group at church read. And it was about a man that was being groomed to be the next Jim Crow. And it tells his entire history of going to college, Hope College, I think it was in Florida, and going overseas for a while and then coming back and finishing up college. And over those 5 years, little by little, his experiences opened up the door. And when he finished college, he changed his name, moved to the Midwest, and continued in graduate school, and gave up the whole Jim Roe thing. But it took 5 years.
John, are you clapping, or do you have something you'd like to share with us? Thank you, Gina. Amen. I think I heard his voice. You're muted, John.
I'm convinced that one of the tasks that most of our congregation should be involved in is learning how to talk to each other about things that we generally avoid because they're conflictual. We need to learn to talk to each other. And if we manage to learn that, then we have a major gift, a missional gift to offer our communities. And that's to offer them a place where it's safe to talk to each other about things we disagree about. There are very few places where it's safe to do that in our community. And that's a major part of our sickness as a country, that the moment we encounter someone who we sense disagrees with us, we either avoid that area or we break off the relationship, which means that we don't learn the kinds of things that you were talking about, Eugenia, to really understand each other and sometimes learn things that we need to know. But if we can learn to do that within our congregations, then I think offering the community a place to do that would be a major missional accomplishment.
Indeed.
I have a couple of things that I would like to share. One is that I live in Florida, and there's recently the government removed Black Lives Matter street mural, and also removed rainbow street mural, and throughout the city. And so I think there were four. And it's caused quite a stir because the reasoning was that it made the streets dangerous, and which was a false flag, because behind it was that the state would refuse to give money to the cities if they didn't remove those murals. And so some cities are removing them and others are not. And so in St. Petersburg, where I am, two of the pastors, both of them being white, went to the Black Lives Matter mural and to kneel and pray. And they knelt and prayed, and then the police asked them to move, and they didn't move. Now the press is there, and and others are there, and so it was witnessed, and then they were taken away and spent the night in jail and were charged with misdemeanors. But the point was that they expressed their love by standing with others, and they used the privilege of being white men and men of faith, to send a message. And I think sometimes that's very important, to be aware of what things we can do based on our social location, the person that we are, and how we present in the world. And another example would be there was a church in California, in LA, and they have a Hispanic service in the afternoon. And LA, you know what's going on in terms of immigration and ICE and so forth. And so what the congregation decided to do is they decided they would be a white wall, and that's what they called it, a white wall. And what that meant was that they would stand outside of the church, and they actually created the people who were white in the congregation, which was mostly white. So they had their services in the morning, but they stayed for the afternoon, and they just built a wall. They just stood there so that ICE could not come in and disturb the surface. And so they helped to protect those so that people could worship, and also could feel safe. And so I think that that's another expression, a way in which people can use what we have to show love, and to recognize that we have within us the ability to be present for one another in ways that we may not be aware of. We just have to really think through it and peel that onion. What can I do?
I'd like to give one more example. Last Sunday after church, during the summer, we only have one service instead of two. And I volunteered to help however they wanted to help. But in Tacoma here, we have one of the retention centers, whatever you want to call them. And there was a meeting at church that everyone was invited, lunch was provided, and people from the community could come as well, about what it's like. They were looking for funds, obviously, to help these folks have money to make phone calls and all of that. And I volunteered, and because I've got Asher, they put me outside to help in the parking lot. And so I started, and I was supposed to just show people where to park and give them directions. And a few minutes after I started, I mean, no one gave me any other directions or instructions as to what I was supposed to do. And I thought, what am I going to do if a black, large SUV or van comes by with dark windows? And at that point, I decided I would stand in the middle of the driveway and not let them pass. Thank God it didn't happen. I was just showing people from the community where to park. But that came kind of close. I thought, would I have the nerve to stand in the driveway? I'm kind of a rebel rouser anyway, and I thought, yes, I can do this.
Thank you. John.
One more possible idea. In areas, basically red areas, I've become aware that we have some blue congregations. As people that aren't comfortable with the dominant culture sometimes join a church where they can get support. And in those churches, I think another opportunity we have is to take note of what textbooks are being withdrawn from the public schools, replaced by history books that are less than accurate. Also, books that are pro-Black culture are being censored. I think some of our churches in that situation could offer after-school courses where history and Black power, Black culture is offered, where children can learn the truth that's being withdrawn from them in our schools. And that would be a ministry that I think would be appreciated much beyond our congregations.
Thanks. In a moment, we're going to share a little action that we took it wasn't really all that hard to do, but we did. And Brenda's going to share that. But before we do, I'm going to just read for you a poem that is an invitation for you to think about how we're invited to follow Jesus, to give love in our midst, to help others, to be disciples, and for us to love. This one is written by Steve Garnis Holmes, and it's called The Cost. From Luke 14, first sit down and estimate the cost. What might I have to be willing to sacrifice to follow Jesus? Money, possessions, claims, attachments that shield me from full and perfect generosity? Status, privilege, social acceptance, belonging, that tempt me to compromise my love. Comfort, having my life the way I want it, that prevents me from risking for the sake of others. Safety, security, staying out of jail. For such is the cost of standing up for justice when tyranny descends. The cost. The invitation is for you to think about your next faithful step in living out your faith, of seeing those places we need to turn the tables on, where we need to get into good trouble. So invite you to ponder what that next step is for you. And I'll turn it to Brenda.
Thank you, Tammy. Was it yesterday? Yesterday, we met with Bishop Curry to just kind of share some things that we had brainstormed about what we would possibly like to do in the future in this ministry. So I'll just share some of those things that we brainstormed. In terms of convocations, we want to create circles of compassion with an emphasis on growth in self-awareness, growth in self-compassion, development of deep listening skills for self, one another, and God, and deepen relationships with those who are different from you. In synods, we're suggesting meet with the Conference of Bishops to envision how this ministry might grow, explore with bishops and synod staff what resources might be helpful to develop for various synod gatherings, such as synod assemblies, fall convocations, and ministeriums. For the national church expression, we suggested explore strategies on how to integrate beloved community principles within the structure of the churchwide office, discuss with the directors of evangelical mission how beloved community ministry can be integrated into discipleship strategies used in their ministries, intentional invitation to marginalized communities to participate in beloved community as participants, program planners, and leaders. Invite Bishop Curry and Secretary Reverend C.C. Mills to attend the first Wednesday of the month Beloved Community Workshop on Zoom on a quarterly basis to share their insights. And then connect the beloved community with the most recent social statement, government and civic engagement in the United States, discipleship and a democracy. So we're excited. Bishop, we think Bishop heard us and just obviously has a lot of things to think about right now, but we felt like he listened to us and the need for this ministry to grow.
Wow.
We stirred the pot a little bit. So I invite you to stir in your context as well. Anybody coming to mind with what they might do to make good trouble?
One thing I asked my pastor to do is put up a picture of our new presiding bishop with a little bit of biography so people realize what we've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. And Jill wrote in the chat that we really felt encouraged because Bishop Curry really invited us to keep meeting and keep up this good work. So thank you for being with us. And Jill or Jason, want to close us out?
Yeah, I'll do real quick on events, put a couple in the chat. Next Wednesday, join us back here for the next reading circle, and that will be chapter 9 because we're going with the month, so the 9th month. And the first Wednesday in October will be October 1st. We'll do this again with a focus on healing together. And then Jill, would you like to say our statement?
Absolutely. And I also want to say a special word of thanks to Candy, to Brenda, and to Tammy for curating this first Wednesday of the month. It really does bring healing to my soul. And I just envision as we leave this space that each of you are taking a piece of that light with you, that you get to share and shine on those that you encounter. And I encourage that. And as you go, please know that you are seen, you are valued, and you indeed are loved. Thank you, and we'll join together next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.